Tonight, the new turn in the race for the White House. Also the developing headline, the deadly stabbing spree at a children's dance party. First tonight here in the U.S., Election Day less than 100 days away now. Vice President Kamala Harris with momentum, raising more than $200 million just 1 week into her campaign. Speaking out tonight on Iowa's new 6-week abortion ban that just went into effect. Harris blaming Donald Trump and his choices for the Supreme Court, who overturned Roe. And tonight, Donald Trump under new scrutiny after saying, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. What did he mean by that? Rachel Scott on the trail tonight. Also this evening, President Biden and his major bid to overhaul the Supreme Court. How would this work? Tonight, Donald Trump now agreeing to a victim interview with the FBI after the attempted assassination. The wildfires burning homes to the ground tonight. The Park Fire out of control in Northern California. The fire larger than Los Angeles. And there is news tonight on the suspect accused of setting a vehicle on fire and rolling it down an embankment. The horrific and deadly stabbing attack during a children's dance class in the UK. Tonight, Israel now warning of a severe response after the deadly rocket attack by Hezbollah, killing a dozen children playing soccer. Here in the U.S. tonight, 2 passenger planes clipping wings on the tarmac. The medical breakthroughs tonight, a new blood test may be 90% accurate at determining if patients with memory problems have Alzheimer's. And the other simple blood test now approved by the FDA to screen for colon cancer. The big news tonight at the Summer Games in Paris, the U.S. men's gymnastics team returning to the podium for the first time in 16 years. And in the middle of the Olympic Games, that moment, the video making one man who was simply doing his job an instant hit around the world. Do you know what we're talking about? You'll see it right here.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and we begin tonight with the race for president. Just 99 days until the election. Vice President Kamala Harris with momentum tonight, raising more than $200 million in donations just 1 week into her campaign. And the national polls between Harris and Donald Trump tightening tonight. So are some of the polls in the key battleground states. And tonight, Donald Trump under new scrutiny after saying to a group of supporters, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. Immediate questions about what he meant by that. And tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris taking aim at Iowa's new 6-week abortion ban, blaming Donald Trump and his choices for the Supreme Court, who overturned Roe. ABC's Rachel Scott leading us off tonight.
1 full week into her campaign, Vice President Kamala Harris surging in the polls, pulling in more than $200 million since entering the race. And tonight, Harris seizing on an issue she hopes will define the choice in November. Abortion. Speaking out against Iowa's 6-week abortion ban, set to go into effect today. Placing the blame squarely on Donald Trump, who appointed 3 of the Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade.
This ban is going to take effect before many women even know they're pregnant. And what this means is that 1 in 3 women of reproductive age in America lives in a state with a Trump abortion ban.
The Harris campaign also jumping on Trump's controversial comments to a Christian audience, where he suggested if they vote this time, they won't have to vote again.
Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed, it'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
The Harris campaign calling this further proof democracy is under assault. Trump, who was counting on a battle with President Biden, now trying to redefine Harris, even as voters warm to her. Tonight, the new ABC News Ipsos poll shows in just 1 week, her favorability rating jumped 8 points, from 35% to 43%.
We have a new victim now, Kamala. We have a new victim. We have a brand new victim. And honestly, she's a radical left lunatic.
Harris and her team now honing a new one-word message, calling Trump out as weird.
You may have noticed Donald Trump has been resorting to some wild lies about my record, and some of what he and his running mate are saying, well, it's just plain weird.
Democrats seizing on the backlash triggered by Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, and his 2021 comments about women who don't have children.
We're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices that they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too.
Now Vance playing cleanup.
Obviously, it was a sarcastic comment. I've got nothing against cats.
But not backing down.
It's the fact that the Democratic Party has become explicitly anti-family in some of their policies.
Democrats like Minnesota Governor Tim Walz sensing an opening. And there's that word again.
These guys are just weird. That's who they are. So we're not afraid of weird people. No. We're a little bit creeped out, but we're not afraid.
So let's bring in Rachel Scott tonight from Washington. Rachel, Vice President Harris, we know, heading to Georgia tomorrow. The latest presidential polls show the race there tightening as well in this race. Now that we're dealing with a race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, this as her campaign continues to vet possible running mates. Everyone is watching this very closely. We know just a short time ago here, one leading contender, Pennsylvania's popular Governor Josh Shapiro, was out campaigning for Vice President Harris, saying she's ready. And he brought up the debate. Let's listen.
She's not only ready, she's damn ready. And you know who else knows she's ready? Donald Trump knows she's ready. And you know how I know this? Because he's afraid to debate her now. Do you see that?
Michigan's Governor Gretchen Whitmer right there by his side on that stage, also campaigning for the vice president. And Rachel, Vice President Harris expected to pick her running mate by August 7th. That's just a little more than a week from now.
Yes, David, Vice President Kamala Harris has to make this decision, and she has to make it quickly. We are told that the vetting process is now fully underway. Sources say that Harris is considering roughly a dozen Democrats for the job, but among the leading contenders is Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, as well as Arizona Senator Mark Kelly. Someone who is not going for this position, Gretchen Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, says she plans to finish out her term as governor in that state, David.
All right, Rachel Scott leading us off here tonight. Rachel, thank you. Meantime, tonight, President Biden now calling for major changes involving the Supreme Court, proposing 18-year term limits for the justices. At the LBJ Presidential Library in Austin, Texas, late today, the president proposing that a president appoint a justice every 2 years. So essentially, that's 2 justices appointed for each president's 4-year term. And that once appointed, those justices serve 18 years on the bench. He argues the court does not reflect the American people.
Extremism is undermining the public confidence in the court's decisions. We need these reforms to restore trust in the courts, preserve the system of checks and balances that are vital to our democracy. They're also common sense reforms.
So let's bring in our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce, also with us tonight. So, Mary, take us through it.
Well, David, the president says that the way to restore trust in the Supreme Court is to establish those 18-year term limits. It does mean that a president would get to appoint a new justice every 2 years. Biden is also calling for a binding code of ethics for justices. And he's calling for a constitutional amendment declaring presidents don't have immunity for crimes committed in office, repudiating the court's recent ruling. But there is very little chance of this becoming a reality facing this divided Congress. And with just 99 days until Election Day, the House Speaker tonight saying this is dead on arrival. The White House recognizes this, but they are also hoping to put these issues top of mind for voters in November. And David, we are told tonight that the Vice President Kamala Harris, now the presumptive Democratic nominee, is supportive of these changes. David.
Mary Bruce at the White House tonight. Mary, thank you. We have new reporting on the assassination attempt on former President Trump. Tonight, the former president agreeing to sit down now for what the FBI calls a victim interview. Here's Aaron Katersky.
Tonight, former President Donald Trump agreeing to a victim interview with FBI investigators more than 2 weeks after the shooting that nearly took his life. The FBI tonight saying shooter Thomas Matthew Crooks carefully planned his attack, using aliases to purchase firearms, ammunition, and chemicals for the explosive devices found in his car.
We're clear!
And tonight, ABC News obtaining text messages between local snipers on site who noticed the shooter lurking at 4:26 p.m., nearly 2 hours before he opened fire. One sniper writing, "He knows you guys are up there," suggesting Crooks saw where the snipers were. By 5:14 p.m., those same snipers say they identified Crooks as suspicious, then saw him pull a rangefinder from his pocket. And tonight, that team sitting down with us for an exclusive interview.
He was looking up and down the building, just wandering around, and it just seemed out of place.
Sniper Greg Nickel took these images of the shooter.
We had a text group between the local snipers that were on scene I had sent those pictures out to that group and advised them of what I noticed and what I'd seen. I then was text back. It said call it into command. I then called it into to the command via radio, and they acknowledged.
What do you think is transpiring once you send in what you've sent in?
I assumed that there would be somebody coming out to, speak with this individual or, find out what's going on.
So how do you know if Greg's concerns about crooks are being relayed properly?
We don't.
It's not clear whether the Secret Service received those warnings. From where they were, the Beaver County SWAT team says they had no view of the roof.
Can we use this ladder?
Greg and I had a discussion as soon as we got there. We kind of felt that those were the wrong locations.
Could you ever tell anybody or call the Secret Service and say, I don't know if this is the best place for me?
No, we had no contact with the Secret Service at all. We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
No, not until after the shooting, I believe. Yeah.
And by then?
It was too late.
The team told us they all failed because a former president was hurt and a man died. Tomorrow, David, the acting director of the U.S. Secret Service is due to testify before Congress. Tonight, we're told he is prepared to explain the communications his agents had and did not have with the sniper teams on the ground. David?
Aaron Katersky with the exclusive interview with local law enforcement and this apparent breakdown in communication with the Secret Service. Aaron, thank you. In the meantime, we turn to the wildfires in the West. California's Park Fire north of Sacramento, now larger than the city of Los Angeles. And authorities say the fire was set by a man who set a vehicle on fire and then sent it down an embankment. Mola Lenki from the fire zone.
Tonight, the Park Fire exploding into California's record books. It's now the 6th largest fire on record in the Golden State, and it's still out of control. And tonight, the man authorities say started it, 42-year-old Ronnie Stout, charged in Butte County with arson. This is the car authorities say he set on fire and rolled off a 60-foot embankment. The Park Fire burning through more than 575 square miles in just 5 days, destroying more than 100 homes and other buildings, forcing thousands to flee. David Tehan and his son Jonathan, both firefighters in Butte County, both lost their homes in the fire.
We have really not had time to stop and look at all of this and what we're going to do. We're still putting fires out.
The Park Fire, just one of more than 100 major wildfires burning across multiple western states. Authorities in Oregon identifying the pilot killed Thursday while working near the Falls Fire as 74-year-old James Maxwell, mourning the loss of a man who spent more than half a century fighting fires.
Well, David, for firefighters, this is very much a race against time to contain this fire further, as temperatures are expected to reach triple digits by Wednesday, which will make fighting this fire extremely challenging. David?
A charge scene behind you, Mola Lenki tonight. Thank you. Overseas tonight, and we're learning more this evening about a horrific and deadly stabbing rampage at a children's dance party near Liverpool, England. Here's our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell now.
Tonight, a deadly knife attack on young children during a kids' dance class in England. Police swarming the quiet seaside town near Liverpool, overwhelmed by what they saw.
When they arrived, they were shocked to find that multiple people, many of whom were children, had been subjected to a ferocious attack and had suffered serious injuries.
The victims, all with stab wounds, raced to area hospitals. At least 2 young children were killed, another 9 children injured in the knife attack. 6 are in a critical condition. The group was enjoying their first day of the summer holidays, finishing up a Taylor Swift-themed dance workshop at a yoga studio.
The offender, armed with a knife, walked into the premises and started to attack.
Authorities say a 17-year-old boy who lived nearby is under arrest, charged with murder and attempted murder. For now, no motive and terrorism ruled out. 2 adults were also critically injured, heroically trying to shield the children.
We believe that the adults who were injured were bravely trying to protect the children who were being attacked.
David, tonight the investigation ongoing, and it's hard to overstate how rare this kind of attack really is here in the UK. King Charles saying he and Camilla are profoundly shocked, offering condolences and prayers. David?
All right, Ian Pannell in London. Ian, thank you. Tonight, Israel is warning of retaliation following a deadly rocket attack by Hezbollah, killing a dozen children playing soccer in the Israeli-controlled Golan Heights. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visiting the site of the attack, saying Israel's response will come and it will be severe. Hezbollah tonight denying the attack. We are also tracking the images coming in from Venezuela tonight, where the government says Nicolas Maduro has been re-elected to a third 6-year term, although full voting data has not been released. The U.S. tonight and other South American nations are expressing concern and have not recognized the results. Tonight, demonstrators continue to take to the streets. Maduro has presided over the collapse of Venezuela's economy. More than 7 million people have fled that country. We turn now to Paris and the Summer Games. And tonight, Team USA at the top of the medal count at a thrilling finish for the men's gymnastics team, ending a 16-year drought. ABC's James Longman covering the games for us from Paris.
Tonight, emotions high in Paris for Team USA, the men's gymnastics team returning to the podium for the first time in 16 years, taking bronze in the all-around. The last time they medalled was back at the 2008 Beijing Games. Steven Nedorosik joined the team especially for his extraordinary pommel horse routine, and he shone.
During that dismount, I was just already smiling, I think. I saluted the judges and looked at these guys and they were jumping up and down. I mean, it was just the greatest moment of my life, I think.
And over in the pool, Ryan Murphy kept his medal streak alive, winning bronze in the 100-meter backstroke, his 7th Olympic medal overall. But a blow for 5-time medalist Lily King. She missed bronze by 100th of a second in the 100-meter breaststroke, tying for 4th. King has said this would be her last Olympic Games. US women's basketball took to the court for the first time, winning their opening match against Japan. And a nervous wait tonight for the triathletes. After bacteria levels in the Seine postpone their event yet again, they'll find out in a few hours if the river is clean enough to compete tomorrow. And I was at that men's gymnastics event, David, and the atmosphere was absolutely electric. Simone and the women, they go tomorrow after her incredible performance on the high beam. She will be in all 4 events despite that calf injury. David?
All eyes on Simone tomorrow, and James Longman, not a bad assignment. Thanks, James. We'll see you tomorrow night here. When we come back on World News Tonight, 2 passenger planes clipping wings on the tarmac. And the medical breakthroughs tonight, a new blood test determining if patients with memory problems have Alzheimer's. And the blood test approved by the FDA now to screen for colon cancer. It's all in a moment here. Tonight, the FAA is investigating after 2 passenger planes clipped wings on the tarmac in Salt Lake City. A Delta flight bound for Montana with 109 passengers hitting an Airbus. Video shows a ground worker pulling a piece of debris from the wing of one of the planes. No one was hurt. When we come back here, 2 new blood tests making news tonight. One to detect Alzheimer's, the other colon cancer. And the unexpected star at the Olympics. He was just doing his job. Did you see the moment? To the index in 2 medical headlines tonight. A new study shows a new blood test may be up to 90% accurate to determine if patients with memory problems potentially have Alzheimer's. The test measures a specific protein in the blood, offering promising results for detecting cognitive decline due to Alzheimer's. Also news on detecting colon cancer. The FDA has just approved a blood test to screen for colon cancer. The test called SHIELD, available for adults 45 and older. Health officials say a colonoscopy is still the best method for screening. That Alzheimer's test is still being studied. When we come back tonight, the unexpected star at the Olympics. You could say he was just diving into his job. Finally tonight here, the new Olympic star in an event all his own. Tonight, it's the moment at the Olympics that made one man an instant star. He had the crowd cheering, and he's not even one of the competitors. It was the start of the 5th and final women's 100-meter breaststroke preliminary heat. The athletes each in their lanes, and then all of a sudden, they were told to step down. One of the officials spotting something in the water. It was a swim cap. Team USA swimmer Emma Weber lost it in the previous heat. Swimmers often wear multiple caps, as you can see right there, Weber's last name and the flag. So that's when a lifeguard in that colorful swimwear was asked to dive in and get it. Essentially, he was just doing his job. 15,000 people in the stands, millions around the world watching. Suddenly, everyone cheering him on. And listen to the announcer.
Does that guy get a name? The cap catcher?
That's what we need to call it, Bob, the cap catcher.
A triumphant wave to the crowd. Bob the cap catcher, as he's now called, declining to share his real name in order to keep the attention on the games. But still tonight, it was that cap-catching lifeguard who stole the show, at least for a moment, at the Olympics. They might have been cheering for the swimsuit, too. I'll see you tomorrow night. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.